Yeah, yeah. Nice to meet you too. Nice to meet you too. So, okay, I am here with Mike Rogers. Mike, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. My name's Mike Rogers. I've been in Japan for almost 40 years. And, well, my story. Okay. In the late 1970s, I'm a disc jockey in Japan. In the late 1970s, I was in a pretty famous punk rock band in Los Angeles. And we were basically considered a one hit wonder. And we had a song called "Sit on My Face Stevie Nix,"
Oh my gosh.
and it was a huge hit, and it got banned in California. Mick Fleetwood called up all the record stores and told them, if you sell that record, we're going to sue you. He called the radio stations and
Right.
said, because he even called me at home. I have no idea how he got my phone number, and threatened us with being sued.
Is this
And
Fleetwood Mac?
yeah, Mick
Yeah.
Fleetwood.
Okay. Yeah, Mick Fleetwood.
So we were like, this was early days of punk, so
Yeah. Right.
basically kind of like, oh fuck you, and just ignored him. But we soon found a lot of clubs didn't want to play us, and the radio station KROQ. Do you know KROQ?
I
KROQ.
have heard of it. Hmm.
Rodney said we were the most, and he actually told me this recently. The most requested song in the history of the radio station
Wow. Really?
was that song. And then we used to tour with like play with Dead Kennedys and Fear and Black Flag and big bands like that
Hmm.
back in the day. And but we were only together for a band for 1 year. And the reason why is those guys, other guys in my band, they fought constantly about stupid stuff. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. One day I just got fed up and said, nah, forget this. Okay, I quit.
Right.
And one of the big reasons why I quit was, do you know the rock band in San Francisco known as the Nuns?
No, I haven't heard of the
Okay,
Nuns.
the Nuns opened for the Sex Pistols.
Okay.
When the
Okay.
Sex Pistols, so anyways, maybe 6 or 8 months before they opened for the Sex Pistols, um, they called us up and asked us, will you come to San Francisco and open for us? So of course the guitarist and I were like, yeah, sure, absolutely, we'll go. But the stupid bass player, the stupid drummer, we told them we're going to San Francisco to play this show, open for the Nuns. It's a big deal. And they said, no, we can't go. Like, why can't you go? Well, we promised our friends we'd go surfing that day. And I was just like, at that time I was, young and stupid, so I didn't kick them out of the band. But if I knew then what I know now, I would have kicked those two idiots out of the band right there in the spot.
Right. Right.
And the guitarist and I would have went up there and played the show, drummer or no drummer. We would have figured out something, but we
Right.
didn't do it. And that was a very, very big factor in the band breaking up. Anyway, the band broke up, and then I really loved. I'm from Ventura, actually. Do you know where Ventura is?
Yeah. 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 Close to
So,
LA. Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, about 60 miles north of LA. So I really loved Hollywood. I really loved everything there. So I wanted to stay there, and I went to see Rodney Bingenheimer at that restaurant he goes to. He lives at every night, and I told him I'll be your assistant, and you don't have to pay me anything, nothing, because I had heard that that's what you do in Hollywood.
Right.
And he said, "Great, come and be my assistant." So I was the assistant to Rodney Bingenheimer for 2 years, 1980 and 1981. And Rodney introduced me to so many famous people like Phil Spector, the
Mm.
Ramones, Blondie, just lots of other bands I can't even remember now.
Right.
And I would just carry records for him, clean the studio while he was doing the show, put records away in the, by ABC, and I mean ABC. So like, A B A C,
Right.
like that. And I did that. And one funny story about that, it was, I think, Christmas of 1980. And there was this like light outside the studio that would blink red when somebody was at the door.
Right.
So It was blinking red. Rodney told me to go out and answer the door. I said, okay. I go to the door, and I'm expecting punk rockers, leather jackets, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I open up the door, and here's this guy who looks like my dad. And I was rude to him. I was like, what do you want? And he said, Rodney told me to come here. And I was like, oh, well, all right, come on in. He came in, and they went into the studio, and I was outside cleaning up. And the guy started talking about the Beatles and producing the Beatles Let It Be record. They were going in an old thing, and I thought, oh man, I screwed up. I've heard of this guy before. I didn't know who he was. It was really rude to him. And anyway, so I did that. And then I quit in 1981 because I was in college, and I kept getting kicked out for getting bad grades.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like under the gun, and if I didn't get good grades this quarter or whatever it was, they were going to kick me out of college again. And a senior getting kicked out of college is really bad.
Right. Yeah, because you're almost there, and then
you're almost there. So I had quit the show, and then I went back to college, and then I met a girl, a Japanese girl, and then anyways, we got married. And in 1983, I moved to Japan with her. And actually, I'm half Japanese.
Okay.
My mom's Japanese. And I'd been to Japan, I think 5 or 6 times, and I really, really liked it here.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved here in 1983. And let me tell you a little vignette. I think maybe it was 79 or something. I came to Japan, and I was waiting. You know where 109 is in Shibuya?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So
they recently changed the sign, right?
Yeah, they had just finished construction of that building.
Yeah.
And my friends told me, wait here because this other friend's going to come and meet me. And I stood there just waiting, and there were no foreigners in Japan at that time.
Right.
You could walk down Shibuya and walk down the center street there, and people would walk up to you and say, like, will you sign my notepad? Give me your signature. And it's like, what? I'm not famous. And they were like, no, but please. All right. Okay, just sign it and give it to them, you know?
Right.
So I'm standing there at this 109 under where there used to be banks of telephones there. And these girls keep walking up to me and saying, like, she's not coming today. She called me and told me to take you to dinner. So let's go. And I thought, what? Like, and this happened 4 times, 4 different times. And by not being too fast up here, by the 4th time, I realized these girls are picking up on me. They're trying to pick me up. And these were all really pretty girls. And I thought, God, this is a wonderful country. Never, ever happened in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Never in a million years. So I really liked it. And it really had an impression on me. So we moved here in 1983. And I got a job teaching English at some school in Shinjuku. What was it called? American Plaza.
Okay.
And back in those days, teaching English was a very high-paying job. Like, people used to get paid like 500,000 yen a month.
Wow.
To teach English back in those days. And I did that for a while, and I became like the boss's assistant. And I only became the boss's assistant because I wanted to work in TV and radio.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a business school, so all this paperwork would come by scheduling department, and I'd look at them too, and it's like, oh, TV Asahi? Okay, yeah, I'll take that job. I'll take that one.
Right. Any opportunity you could to get in that world, right? Yeah.
So I got a job at TV Asahi and teaching them English. Oh, let me tell you another funny story about that. So this is back in the day where these new toilets that have the shower and bidet and whatever it's called.
Right.
It just came out.
Okay.
Just came out. And so I was in the first floor toilet at TV Asahi. And I pressed the button. This water started coming up, and I was like, "Oh my God, what the hell?" And I got up and I ran out of the bathroom, and just ran out of the bathroom back to my class and stuff, and went and taught the class. Class was probably 2 hours long, I think. And when the class was over, everybody was like, "Let's go have a drink." It's like, okay. So we go out there, and we go out to the lobby area there, and it's underwater. There's about 2 inches of water on the whole lobby of the floor.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It didn't have like a cutoff mechanism on it. No.
It just kept going, and I guess nobody knew how to turn it off.
Oh my God.
So I think the statute of limitations is over, right? That's like 30 years ago. So
yeah.
I don't think I'll get in trouble now, but yeah, that happened. So anyways, I did that. And then I got a job with a girl named Komaki Yuka.
Okay.
She was really famous, really beautiful girl in the mid 80s. And she wanted me to be her assistant on her radio show. So we started doing a radio show together on some Osaka radio station. I can't remember the name of AM station. And then I told her, you're working at J-Wave too. Can you introduce me to J-Wave? She said, okay. So then I got introduced to J-Wave, and I got a job there. And from that, I've gotten a job at basically every radio station in Tokyo. And I'm proud to say, my friend, I am the only DJ, I think in history, who's been fired from every FM radio station in Tokyo.
In Tokyo, right? Every single one.
Every single one, and I take that as a stinky badge of honor, because most of these radio stations, all of them, they suck. Do you ever listen to FM radio?
Hardly ever. I mean, there's 2 FM radio stations here in Utsunomiya, and one of them seems to be all right, and the other one is just just a normal commercial pop, general type stuff. Most of the time it's all talk radio, half the time. So
yeah. So I started that, probably even back in those days, I started thinking like I should do indies pop, because no one else is doing it, and just playing that. And I'm kind of glad I did. I think it's lucky. So I still have a job, even though I'm 63 years old. So
right. So you currently, which stations do you work for now?
You mean stations I'm paid for, or stations I work for?
Both. How about that?
I'm paid for the Mike Rogers show.
Right.
I'm being paid by a sponsor who sponsors me.
Okay.
Actually, not the show, but they want me to play certain types of music for them.
Okay.
And if it's cool, I'll play it. Then I also do a show that's actually starting next month called Color Red.
Color Red. Okay.
Yeah, Color Red is kind of a. Do you know that song by Us Three? What's it called? Diddy Diddy Bop. Funky, diddy diddy. What the hell's the name of the song? But anyways, it's kind of like a jazz, soulful jazz, hip hop type of music.
Okay.
It's not normally what I play, but actually I do play it. And Us Three, when they come to Japan, are always guests on my show. And then I do the top 20 European top 20 hits on every Saturday night. It's wonderful, beautiful, fantastic top 20 music. You'd love it. I'll have to send you a link.
Of course, yeah. and any of the show links and places where people can find you, I'll have in the show notes as well. So people
thanks.
All the shows, yeah.
Yeah, I have a webpage, and that's got everything listed, and they're going to have pretty soon a listing for your area. So
okay,
like on Sundays, Japan time, I'm on like 10 or 12 stations around the world, and that goes from 1 o'clock in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. So you can just be flipping around and get stations. And I've made so many shows now that it's usually different shows.
Okay.
And one more thing. So I'm doing that radio show. I'm also making, and it's going to be launched soon. Do you know what Patreon is?
Yes, yes.
So I'm making a Patreon for Japan.
Okay, so
In,
aimed at like Japanese
yeah,
creators and stuff, right?
yeah, Japanese artists and creators, YouTubers like you, and it's in English and Japanese,
Okay.
and we're testing it now to make sure everything runs okay. But I think Avex Tracks is going to be a sponsor of that or a partner in that, and that's one more thing. And then the last thing I'm doing now is I'm running a film festival, and
Oh, okay.
that's November 2nd and 3rd. And the film fest this is a long story,
Mm-hmm.
but the film festival is November 2nd and 3rd. November 3rd is a culture day.
Yeah.
And originally the film festival was named Rain Dance Japan. And that's because Rain Dance encouraged me to call it Rain Dance. They made my logo, Rain Dance Japan.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
gave me an email address that said japan@raindance.org. And they just did everything and encouraged everything. And this started last year, July, I guess.
Okay.
And probably about 3 weeks ago. So I was always talking to the number one guy. But about 3 weeks ago, the number two guy wrote to me and said, "You can't do this." And I was just kind of like, I don't want to fight with them.
Yeah.
All right, I'll change the name of the film festival, whatever. And then after I did that, he said, "You have to change the URLs."
Oh
And
man.
I said, "You can't change the URLs. You either delete them or you don't." And I'm halfway through my submission season.
Right.
I can't change it now. So I wrote them that letter, very polite, but that's been 3 or 4 days. They haven't answered me. I think
Oh, man.
they might be fighting with each other.
Right. Yeah. That's always kind of bad when you're kind of caught in the middle of other people's drama, you know. So
Yeah, well, you know, Rain Dance, Rain Dance is a great festival. I
yeah.
really like those guys, and I've always gotten along with them well. And I think that's why they said, "Please call your film festival Rain Dance Japan."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is actually not a good idea because, Cannes Film Festival,
Mm-hmm.
Cannes Film Festival ran in Japan, a Japanese subsidiary, for 3 years and went bankrupt. And the reason being, I'm told from Japanese people are not interested in a subsidiary. They want to
Okay.
they want to enter the real one. They're not interested in the Japanese subsidiary. So I guess they didn't get very many submissions.
Right. So they either want to participate in the real festival or have basically their own that they can,
Yeah,
have other people come to as well, right?
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, that's where I'm sitting with that. And anyway, sorry about the long introduction. That's it.
No, that's actually it's great. We have a lot of different avenues we can go from there. So you said you came to Japan
Hmm.
in 1983, right?
Yeah.
So Japan was, as you've already said with the toilet story, is
Yeah.
extremely different now than it was then. So you basically came to Japan right during the bubble years, and then
Oh yeah.
right after that. So how was living in Tokyo like during that time?
Oh, the bubble years were great. And there was
Yeah.
another teacher working at our school named Steven Sims. Hey, Steven, if you're watching this, how's it going,
Hmm.
man? And he and I thought alike,
Mm.
very much alike. But the rest of the teachers were just like, "This is the gravy train. This is going to last forever."
Oh man,
And
yeah.
just blowing all their money. And we would save our money. But for example, after class, every night, your student would take you drinking
Right.
and pay for it. And then they'd get in a taxi and they would hand you a 10,000 yen bill and say, "Take this and go home."
Mm.
And what he and I would do would, get in the taxi, ride it 1 meter, get out, get the change, and take the train home.
Right. Yeah.
That was just smart. And
And then pocket the cash
yeah,
afterwards, or spend it on drinking or whatever. Right.
yeah. And because our pay at the school was really good. People were just throwing money around. It was really the the golden days, and kind of faded away. I think around, I don't know, 1990, 91, something like that.
Right.
And around but still, it was still there in the 90s, because I started my J-Wave job in 1989.
Okay.
I was one of the first 5 main DJs at that station. And you'll be shocked, and I'm not bragging. I just want to tell you, I used to do a Thursday night and Friday night show.
Okay.
From 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday night and Friday night. And I got paid 1.5 million yen.
For just those 2 nights?
Yeah, just those 2 nights.
Wow.
And
good on you.
Yeah,
especially then, you know?
Yeah, especially then. But now, at radio stations, I mean, FM is dead.
Yeah.
They can't get sponsors. The cost of running an FM station, they're spending millions and millions of yen a month just on having an antenna at Tokyo Tower, and then running that system, and then broadcasting that signal out. They're 2 or 3 million yen in the red, right? Even before they even have any shows.
Right.
And they can't get sponsors, because very few sponsors are up for paying 5 million yen for an hour show. And, especially because of the internet. But what was I saying? Oh, so if you do an hour show now, you might get 80,000 yen a month.
Yeah.
Or 120,000 yen a month.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. A lot of DJs do their jobs for free. So when my InterFM show ended, and I was general manager at InterFM until 2007.
Okay.
And we were in the black, #1 in ratings, and a new president came in, and he was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I quit, but I still did a show, and I had my own show there for 23 years.
Wow, and that's awesome.
The pay just kept going down like this every year. So now I'm basically focusing on digital radio.
Okay.
Internet radio, podcasting, and YouTubing. Those are the 3 things that the president of Twitter Japan told me, concentrate on that.
Yeah.
Those 3 things, that's the future. And he's the president of Twitter Japan. I think he knows what he's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
They're just pouring over data all the time.
I mean, I just noticed with, podcasts have really been around for more than a decade, mid 2000s, but they didn't really start catching on until about 6-7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, my father was in FM radio. He owned radio stations back in the States, and just seeing how the state of FM radio now compared to then, like the internet really has just blown terrestrial radio out of the water. It's and television as well. Television's dying as well because of YouTube and streaming services. So
well, I might disagree with you that.
Okay.
I think TV is dying because the programming is so crappy.
Well, that is definitely a factor in it. You're right. Yeah. There's a lot of useless. Yeah. So every time I go back to visit the States, I'll my family has, satellite TV, and there's hundreds and hundreds of channels, and I flip through it and I think there is absolutely nothing on that remotely interests me at all. I'm like, this, how much are you paying a month for this? Like $60, $70 a month. Like, just cut it. Just cut the cord and do something else,
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son,
mm-hmm.
and we threw out our TV 15 years ago.
Okay.
And the NHK guys used to come and knock on the door. You got an antenna up there. It's like, I don't have a TV, all right? And so we don't pay NHK. We don't have. I haven't watched TV you know, I mean, at my home, I haven't watched TV in 15 years,
Right.
but I don't miss it. When I go to
Yeah.
a restaurant or something, they'll have a TV, like a bar, they'll have a TV up there, and I'll watch it for a few minutes, and I just think, this is so stupid. I can't believe people are sitting there just gawking at it and watching it.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
In the early days when I moved here, it was actually really useful for learning
Yeah.
because they have the subtitles on a lot of things and
Yeah.
but after a while, once my Japanese level got a little bit higher, I thought why am I watching this? There's nothing interesting about it. The only thing I would say interesting, there's like some of the quiz shows were quite good for testing your knowledge or kanji or whatever like that. But yeah, I have a TV, but I don't use it to watch any cable. It's just streaming or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you studied Japanese on TV, so did I.
Yeah.
So the show, so I don't know if it's still on. Used to be on Fuji TV, and it's called Sazai-san.
Yeah. I know.
So I used to videotape that, and then put the videotape recording onto a cassette and listen to it on my Walkman, and I would write the entire script down.
Right.
And that was the best study I ever had, because you got little kids, they got the mom and dad, they got the grandpa and the grandma, and just all this interaction, all in one little cartoon.
Yeah. All the different ways of speaking for gender and age and
Yeah.
And it's natural conversation, and a lot of these study materials that are made for English speakers to study Japanese, I just found useless for me because it sounded just very robotic and like not natural. But once I started getting into media, books, TV, radio, music aimed at a native Japanese audience, that's where my learning just skyrocketed from there.
So you're one of these young people. See,
yeah,
I don't know how old you are, but in my generation, I'm one of the better Japanese speakers that I've met. But I meet these people who are like 20, 25, 30 years old now, and it's incredible how well they speak Japanese. And I'm afraid to say anything around them because I'll sound so stupid.
Right. Well, the wealth of knowledge out there, I mean, there's no excuse not to be able to speak a foreign language these days, because just the wealth of media and knowledge and everything and the internet is just right at your fingertips. And when I didn't take any classes. Most of mine is self-taught. In fact, 99% of mine is self-taught. I navigated my own way through it, found out what worked for me and what didn't work for me. I still have holes here or there, but I'm able to live about my daily life. You know what I mean?
That's great, man.
Yeah. And I don't really, I'm trying not to brag about it because maybe it took me a longer time to do it than if I actually had some focus, but I got there eventually. So, but even back when I started, I just had, like these programs that had just now, they're now very popular, but they had just come out. They were like electronic flashcard programs like Anki or Nemosine. And
I
they're
don't
just
know what those are. Oh, really?
Right. So basically, it's just like using like how you use flashcards, but electronically, and you grade yourself. So, if that was difficult, then you grade yourself as a difficult. And I would just be honest with myself and say, well, I have no clue what that is. So the ones that you would grade more difficult, when you bring up the program, it would come back at you more frequently. The ones that you grade yourself easier, they would space them apart longer.
Wow.
So, yeah. And I just did that daily for. I would add my own cards, so stuff that I found interesting, plug it in, and then I would do that daily, even if it was 5 to 10 minutes or 30 minutes, while I'm having my coffee in the morning. I would just do that daily before I go about my day, and then throughout the day I would look for things that I recognized, and I would just knew something new. I'd write it down, add it to the cards, later that night, and I did that for years, and I just made it such a habit with no end goal. I didn't want to, I had no plans originally to take the JLPT or anything. I just wanted to learn it because I'm living in the country, right? And eventually I did take a test, but for me, it was just finding my own way of doing it. And then what you said about listening to recordings of natural Japanese, I would, before I started driving, I would commute by bicycle to my job, and one way was like 8 kilometers, right?
Oh.
So one way and back, 16 kilometers a day, was in great shape back then. But I would just listen constantly to native level conversations, and even if I did not understand it, I would pick out what I did understand and just put it on a loop, and eventually I'd get the rhythm and the way of speaking down that way. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to do it. So a lot of let me kind of change the subject, but this
sure.
When the March 11th tsunami and nuclear disaster came, that was kind of a watershed for foreigners in Japan, because in Tokyo, like the foreigners who've been here like 20, 25 years, we all know each other, kind of, or I'm not saying we're friends or anything, but a lot of them are really good friends of mine. And I'll have to tell you that one is most of those foreigners can't speak a word of Japanese. It really astounds me.
Yeah.
And they'll say like, well, you're half Japanese, that's why you can. But like, I couldn't speak any Japanese before I came here. My mom never spoke Japanese to us. And the other thing is, a lot of foreigners would say like, they didn't like Japan because they can't become like one of the locals. It's right. Like you can't change your face.
Yeah.
But when the March 11th disaster happened, and I think it was around March 15th, they all split.
Flyjin. That's what people call them, right?
What they call them?
Flyjin.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I haven't heard that word in years. Flyjin. And there was a guy who was a crisis manager at some company. Yeah. And he got on an airplane and split. And I remember I wrote him, kind of pissed off at him, like, what kind of a crisis manager like are you? You leave the country and all these people leave, and for once it was actually nice because Tokyo was like 1983 again.
Yeah.
But people, complain that the Japanese don't treat them as equals. I don't think we want to be treated the same.
In some ways, no, you're right. I mean, there are benefits of being a foreigner in Japan, and if you assimilate enough to society, where you don't always stand out like a sore thumb, but if you assimilate enough into it, you can actually find this good middle ground where people speak to you as you belong here, but at the same time you don't have to abide by certain cultural norms that Japanese have to. So you kind of have a little bit more freedom in that way. I've found anyway.
No, that's totally true. And I don't know, many years ago, I had this idea about running a marketing company. So I tested out my ideas, and I went to Delta Airlines, and I just walked in and said, I'm here to see the president. And they let me in to see him. If you were a Japanese young guy and you walked in like that, unannounced, and said you want to see the president, they'd be like, who the hell do you think you are? Yeah. But I was a foreigner, spoke Japanese, and they were just really surprised.
Right. Yeah.
And they let me in to see him, and I made these deals with them. His staff didn't like it, but yeah, way back in the good old days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from my experience, I've found if you speak a competent level of Japanese and you have a little bit of, I wouldn't say even charisma, but just like a little bit of, you're not shy, you're not too quiet about it. Yeah. You have a little bit of confidence in yourself, then there's a lot that you can just do that a lot of people wouldn't get away with if they were native Japanese,
There's a guy named Tim Williams. What was it called? Entrepreneur. Yeah. He was the first foreigner to IPO a company in Japan.
Okay.
and that company was called Value Commerce. And Tim is actually a really good friend of mine.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
he went in to see what's his name, Mikitani-san
Mm-hmm.
at was it Rakuten or Recruit? Rakuten, I think it is.
Rakuten. Yeah.
He went in there and just started talking to him, and he told me the same thing. He said it's so easy just to walk in. Here I am. I'm here to see this person. Oh, I'll wait here. And they let him in to see him. And Mikitani became a investor in Value Commerce.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of good deals. He's moved back to New Zealand now, but yeah, I saw him last month. Is it February? Yeah, last month I saw him. Nice guy. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, so it is really good. And on my radio show, I do most of my radio show in Japanese.
Okay.
In my bad Japanese, and I do it. I wake up really early in the morning, and I do it like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm hungover usually. So in the middle of sentences, I'll be talking and like, what was I talking about?
Well, that's part of the charm, though. You know, if you have like a rehearsed script, people aren't going to be as interested as if you're just being yourself. And you know, part of the charm is, oh yeah, make a little mistake and then just go from there. You know, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's really fun on the radio show. The Mike Rogers show, it's on a station near you. Anyway, it's really nice because there's no pressure to do things like the right way.
Right.
You know.
Well, you said you have a sponsor, but you run this on your own, right? So do you run this from? Do you have a home studio, or do you rent out a place to do it, or?
No, I have a home studio right here.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. That's the beauty of technology today too, is you don't have to go to a specified radio studio anymore. You can basically create your own, you know.
Yeah, so I create the FM radio show here for Don and Kyushu Radio. I create my show here. I create the European Top 20 here. And it's really nice because I don't have to drive the car anywhere.
Oh man, that must be really nice. Work from home.
I've always been a very early morning person anyway, but you know, the trains don't start running till 5:30.
Right.
And if it was like my show starts at 5 a.m., I have to be there like by 3. So you have to drive a car. So, well, back in the old days, they would send a taxi to pick you up, but now the stations don't have any money. But doing it from here allows me the time flexibility. Maybe the sound quality is not that good, but everybody's listening on those little white, what do you call it, earbuds?
Earbuds, yeah.
Anyway, so it sounds fine.
Yeah, yeah. It's only if you have, you know, professional quality earphones that. But even then, for talking purposes, you know, you don't need anything great. It's just for the music, right?
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
Well, I try to play WAV files for the music, always.
Yeah.
If I can, but I play MP3 sometimes too. You know, because I'm playing really, really, really new stuff, and I want to play stuff before anyone else does.
Right. Right.
And I've kind of got an easy in because my show is mostly new Japanese bands. And I used to think Japanese bands were really terrible, but now I'm getting to where I really kind of like them.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's just it too. I remember just when I moved here, maybe I wasn't as knowledgeable of the Japanese music industry at the time, but my knowledge was surface level, you know, either J-pop or I knew a few Japanese rock bands, right? But nowadays, like, there's so many genres of music that everyone just has, they can go their own way, you know, they produce their own music, and it's just, you know, for me now, there's more music available more than ever, but it's harder. It seems that there's so much out there that it's almost hard to find the gems because there's just so much out there now, you know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of my friends they live in Italy or wherever, that constantly send me, Mike, I found something good. Let's check this out. Bandmade. And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Right.
And I'm not saying Bandmade's bad, but that's like total corporate, pop music. That's mainstream as you can get.
Right.
So, yeah, I better watch what I say here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. When we're off air, you fill me in on that one. So yeah, man. Yeah. Go ahead.
Next time I go to a show, and I used to go to shows a lot, but when you get past 55, it's like becomes a very big ordeal to be standing there for like 3 or 4 hours straight.
Right.
But next time I go, I'll give you a ring and see if you want to go.
Yeah, hell yeah. I've been looking for more opportunities to get to see live concerts. Utsunomiya, it's not really. It's not a. There's a few bands that will come to local clubs, local music clubs and stuff. But to see anything spectacular, and when I say spectacular, like any sort of regular venue that you would see a concert at, you have to go to Saitama at the closest from here, or Tokyo.
Yeah. The band the Let's Goes. I don't want to make a commercial here, but the Let's Goes are a 3-girl band.
Okay.
They've been around for a year. I mean, in the current line, it's been around for a year. Yeah. They're really happening. Seiji, Seiji from Guitar Wolf, the leader, his daughter is the bass player in that band.
Oh, okay.
So they've got all these really good connections, and they're playing again really soon. And the best way I can describe them, I mean, they're really melodic.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. The Let's Goes. That's what they're called.
Yeah, Let's Goes. If you want to, we can go on March 13th. Of course, we don't have to pay to get in.
March 13th. I'll check my calendar.
Friday night.
Okay.
Then the next one is April 11th at Club Q in Shimokitazawa.
Okay.
The best way I can explain, I'm going to send you some of their songs as soon as we hang up, but the best thing I can tell you, my dog is sitting over there. Come here, dog. Come. Yeah. Come here. You gotta say hi. Come here. Come here.
There he is.
See, he's got huge ears.
Yeah.
Papillon.
Yeah, pretty dog.
Anyway, the best way to describe them is like if you took like a shoebox and then you put a bunch of bees in it and then close the top up, and then opened it up. That's what they're like.
Right.
Very wild band.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty good. It sounds right up my alley. I'm always interested in finding out new music, any genre. I mean, as you commented earlier, I have the Zeppelin poster. Zeppelin's my favorite classic rock band, anyway. Well, tied between that and Pink Floyd, but I listen to that. But I listen to almost every genre of music. As long as it sounds good, I'll listen to it. So that's where I'm at.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna. Well, now, what's your email address? Well, tell me when we hang up.
Yeah, I'll send you just the one that we were communicating with earlier. You can send it via that email address.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna send you their schedule.
Okay. Appreciate that.
And then when you can go, I'll go.
Great. Yeah. That actually sounds really good. Thank you.
And like I said, we don't have to pay to get in. Wait a minute. What's your well, I'll send it. Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. So, now going back a little bit further back in history, you said that so you were in a punk band, right? And you played with bands like Black Flag and did you any stories from that time period that are of any interest, or any people in particular?
yeah, this is the kind of thing like I thought of I know I told you one about what those stupid idiots did. What was it?
Right.
Oh yeah. Saying they want to go surfing. One time, okay, one of the best shows we ever played, and it's okay to talk about drugs and shit, right? Isn't it?
Oh yeah. There's
Okay.
no off limit.
So this is back in the days when punk was really a new thing, and most people thought a punk band was the Cars or Cheap Trick.
Right.
So we played at a battle of the bands, and I took some LSD and drank a whole bunch of Jack Daniels, and I think everyone else in the band did too. And the band we were playing against was called Shipwrecked.
Shipwrecked.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they sucked just as much as the name sounds like they would.
They sound like they shipwrecked, right? Yeah.
They played like Fleetwood Mac covers and stuff like that. They played first, then we played second, and this club was full of punks, like
Right.
300 punk kids, and we came out on stage. I guess I stumbled out on stage, and the bass player this was a new bass player, then a guy named Ronnie Fast.
Okay.
He says to the audience, "Hi, we're Shipwrecked, and we'd like to thank the Rotters for us. Didn't they fucking suck?" And we were just screaming and yelling like that. And this girl jumps up on stage in the middle of our song, and she grabs a microphone from me, and she's like, "You're not Shipwrecked. You're not Shipwrecked. You're the Rotters, and all you guys do is play noise. All you do is just play noise." And I was standing behind her like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Okay, are you finished?" And she said, "Yeah." And I put my foot in her back, and I just kicked her off the stage. She just flew into the crowd, and people were going crazy. And the the club shut off our power and stuff, and they disqualified us. But that was the best show.
I was gonna say that was probably the best experience that you probably had, like winning Battle of the Bands. Nah, but that right there sounds a lot more fun to me. So.
That was back in the days where everyone used fake names and everything. Not because it was cool for being punk, but it was like Ventura, Orange County, people like that, like the hillbillies there.
Right.
They would kick your ass if they knew you were in a punk band. So we all used fake names. And always wore caps so people couldn't tell our hair was really short and stuff like that back in those days. So our original drummer, he quit after about a month, like maybe 1 or 2 months before our single was a really big hit. He quit the band, and he told us he's quitting the band because his girlfriend told him, like, no boyfriend of mine is going to be playing in a punk band.
Oh God.
And we were like, what a fucking puss.
Right.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So, but there were a lot of stories. I got most stories, I think, from working with Rodney, I guess. Because Dee Dee Ramone, okay, the Ramones would come on KROQ, and they came a lot. It seems to me they came 3 or 4 times. And since I was from Ventura, I always had the best smoke.
Right.
It was so much better than the dirt they were smoking in LA.
Right.
So I always had this really good smoke. And the Ramones would come on, and Dee Dee would see me. He was always very happy to see me. Mike, let's go smoke. Let's go. All right. And the other 3 Ramones would be on the radio with Rodney, and Dee Dee and I would sit in the back room and just getting high. I mean, he was a fiend.
Right. Yeah.
He was a fucking fiend, but he was a really nice guy. And I used to be worried that Rodney would get mad at me or something like that because, Dee Dee's not on air. He's sitting back there getting stoned with me. And I kind of felt myself as like concierge or something like that. I'm supposed to take care of the guests, give them coffees, teas, make sure they're happy. Right. That's my job. So we'd be back there smoking, and like I said, I would be worried, like, don't you think, Dee Dee, like, you should go and like say something on the air? He didn't. No. It's and he was a fiend, and he used to get stoned a lot with. I got stoned with what's his name, Darby Crash.
Okay.
when they were on the station, but they weren't nice to me. You know, they weren't nice to anybody, and just lots of bands like that. And I don't know. I can probably remember a lot more stories if we were sitting there drinking.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But like I can't really recall right now. But
Oh,
yeah, there's
yeah. Those days are a bit easy anyway, right?
The first time I saw Belinda Carlisle.
What's that?
The first time I saw Belinda Carlisle.
Okay. Okay.
The Go-Go's had their debut show at the Roxy Theater, and they were playing with the Dickies, and Rodney was there. So that was the first place we gave Rodney our record, and the Go-Go's came on before the Dickies, of course, and they were fucking terrible. God, they were terrible, and they couldn't play. I mean, but look who's talking. But they couldn't play, and they went off the stage, and people just kind of, whatever. And then the Dickies came out, and people just went crazy. So when the Dickies were on stage, Stan Lee took out a roll of newspaper, I guess it was, and he had $1 wrapped around it, right. So like $100, but it was just newspaper,
Okay.
And he says to the audience, I have $100 right here to any girl who will come on stage right now and show me what sex really is. And Belinda Carlisle jumped up on stage, took off her shirt. She was like naked, took off her shirt. She grabbed money. So that was back in the crazy days. Yeah. And that was the first time I met Belinda Carlisle. So she was probably standing, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet right in front of me.
Right.
But she was kind of fat back in those days. So it was kind of like, oh, God.
Nice first impression, though, right? Yeah.
But I remember thinking, like, the LA punk. Oh, the LA punk kids, they didn't like us at all.
Yeah.
They called us Northers.
So there's even, like, territorial rivalries, even in in punk music, I guess. So
yeah, it was bad. They called us Northers, and then when we would go to San Francisco and play with like the Dead Kennedys, people would be yelling, "LA, go home! LA, go home!"
Because you guys were closer to LA than San Francisco.
Yeah,
right. So yeah,
that used to happen a lot. I have a blog called Modern Marketing Japan, mm-hmm. And I wrote all these stories down, so I went with them. So if your listeners want to check that out,
I'll have a link to that as well. Yeah.
I wrote all the stories about how I worked with Charles Bukowski and Gary North, and the story about Phil Spector and the Ramones and everything. I've written them all down.
Yeah, that's
just so I wouldn't forget.
That's crazy. I mean, Phil Spector, that guy's just insane anyway. So
yeah, well, I actually met him 3 times. The first time was the station, and then I met him twice at this restaurant. Rodney goes to this restaurant almost every fucking day. It's called Cantor's. Do you know?
Cantor's in
it's in Hollywood.
Okay.
And it's like a Denny's.
Okay.
And that's the kind of crap he eats every day. It's like French fries and like a hamburger. It's like, this is really bad for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so Rodney came to Japan in 2016 though.
Okay.
So that's an interesting story. So for when I first came here, for many years, I never told anyone that I was in the Rotters, played this band. I never told anyone ever. And you will know why. Because most foreigners in Japan, and the Japanese call them like, big mouth.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe what they say. Yeah. And so I never told anyone that I was in the Rotters. I never told anyone I was Rodney Bingenheimer's assistant. I never told anyone for 30 some years. So I made a movie in 2015? A rock and roll movie.
Okay.
It world premiered at Rain Dance. That's how I got to know them.
Yeah.
And it was about it was a rock and roll movie, Rock and Roll Ghost, and it had the Japanese band, the Neat Beats, in it.
Neat
The
beats.
Neat Beats are really cool.
Okay.
And when we're shooting the movie, I was at their house because we were shooting in their basement studio. And I went to the bathroom, and in the bathroom there was a book, a big fat book about Phil Spector. And I looked at it, and I thought, oh, and I just picked it up, and I opened it by just chance, and
Yeah.
there's a photo of Phil Spector and Rodney Bingenheimer in there. And I thought, wow, wow. And I went back to the studio. I said, hey, you guys like Phil Spector? And they were like, yeah, he's a legend. He's a god. And I said, I've met him before. And they were like, no, come on, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. Right.
Yeah, whatever. And I was like, no, I have, you know, no way. I thought we were making this movie together. You guys should trust me. And I said, do you guys know Rodney Bingenheimer, right? And they were like, yeah, he's a DJ legend. And I said, I was his assistant from 1980 to 1981, and you could tell they did not fucking believe me.
Believe you. Yeah. Right.
At all. And then that was in February, and then in May I got a call from Rodney saying he's coming to Japan for a week, being all expenses paid.
Yeah.
He wanted to meet me and wanted me to take them around, and I said, okay, I'll take you guys around. And so I wrote to all these rock bands and told them, if you want to meet Rodney Bingenheimer, you can. We'll go to lunch or go to dinner, but you're going to pay for the dinner.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I took them around and took them shopping and went to Asakusa and stuff like that. So that was the first time I ever told anyone about that, and now a lot of people know.
Right. And how long was that from when you came to Japan until just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, just a few years ago. I never told anyone.
Yeah.
And there was actually, I was in another band. Oh, let me show you this. I don't know if you care. This is my band's record. This was Sit on My Face Stevie Nix.
Okay.
So that was a big hit. And then after that band broke up, I made another band called the Woofy Dogs.
Woofy Dogs. Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it would be easy to sell and stuff, but it wasn't. And I wound up, I think we pressed 250 records. I don't remember. But
was this in America or in Japan?
In Japan.
In Japan. Okay.
It was like probably 70. No, maybe 81.
Okay.
Or 82. And I decided to move to Japan. So in 1983, I probably threw away 230 or 40 of those records.
Oh, man.
In the garbage. Now I find out that record is like the holy grail of late 70s Los Angeles punk bands. And it's sold on Discogs. You know what Discogs is?
Yep, Discogs. Mm-hmm.
It's sold at Discogs for $1,800.
Oh, dude.
For a stupid single. But I have the acetate of that record. Can you see that?
It's a little blurry. Maybe move it back a bit. There you go. Yeah, that's good.
Acetate.
Mm-hmm.
And I went looking down in my basement through all my stuff, and I don't know why I kept this, but I brought this here, and I sold it to a collector.
Yeah.
And he's going to come and get it. I sold it for $2,000.
There you go.
Is that a good deal, huh? So don't.
But you kind of kick yourself now. You're like, why did I throw those away? You know. So
I know.
Yeah.
And it's the picture sleeve, I guess. You got to have the picture sleeve for it to be really expensive. But yeah, stupid shit we do when we're young.
Oh yeah. I think we all have that. So, that's good. You've with this radio show, you've kind of become. I'm sure you've met a lot of people in the Japanese entertainment industry in general, not just the music scene, correct?
Yeah.
Are there any people in particular that who is it? There's a few foreign celebrities in Japan. have you met any of them? I'm sure in social gatherings, parties, and everything. You've come across a few of them, right?
Yeah, but I don't. I've been living here so much. I don't really have any foreign friends.
Yeah, that those tend to fall away, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, do you know a radio disc jockey named George Williams?
The name rings a bell, but
So
yeah.
I was his manager for 26 years.
Okay.
And he quit our company last year, and he's kind of gone by the wayside. I don't see where he's getting jobs and stuff, and he's quit, and he joined 2 different agencies. So I think that's not a good sign. But I've met some foreigners. I can't tell you their names.
Right.
Michael Tomioka's a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who he is. Shirley Tomioka's really nice. And there's a black guy. What's his name? He's a really nice guy too. I forgot his name. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
Right.
I just don't know. I used to be on a lot of TV dramas in the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
So I met a lot of really, really famous Japanese back in those days.
Yeah.
But then you start getting older and start getting fat and start drinking and stuff,
And those jobs get less and less over time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Have you met? He's foreign, but I think he grew up here in Japan. But he was a DJ for a while. Now he's a journalist. He appears on TV. Morley Robertson. Have you met him?
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Is he? He seems like a nice guy. Yeah.
He's a very, very nice guy. He knows me well. Morley was when I started. Mentioned about that J-Wave show.
Right.
Morley, I was the Thursday, Friday night host, and I think he was the Monday, Tuesday host. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were kind of the same team. I mean, we didn't really meet, but he's a super nice guy.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard him speak English. I'm pretty sure he does. I mean, I know he does.
Speaks English.
Yeah, but it's even what little communication we've had, it's just been in Japanese. So I mean, he's completely fluent. Obviously, he has that TV show and everything too. So.
He's much better than I am.
Yeah.
In Japanese. Yeah, I can say like biru chodai.
Right.
Kyou wa hieru da toka.
Yeah.
Just that kind of stuff. But he can talk about senmonka, like
special topics.
Special topics. I mean, I can talk about special topics too, but I'm not using the correct terminology.
Right. Like his just flows out. Just he's Hayakuchi too. He's a very fast speaker.
Yeah.
So,
he's one of the few foreigners here, I think, who is a genuinely nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why I don't try, it's not. I don't even try. I don't hang around with foreigners. And in the radio world, there's something weird about people. You'll meet people. Hi, how are you? And like, I'm older than most of these people by like 20 years. I'm older than your dad, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get some kind of attitude like a rivalry.
Yeah.
You're my rival. I'm not your rival. I don't play, the music you play. You don't play the music I play. I'm 25, 30 years older than you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
But
yeah, I know what you mean. Like at least in the younger years, my younger years here, I saw more competitiveness. Even in small city like where I'm at now. But nowadays, either it's I don't care, or maybe I just don't hang around those type of people anymore. But all the foreign friends that I do have I just surround myself with people who are chill. Like they don't. There's no competitiveness. We have different industries. Even if we're in the same industry, we shoot the shit. Like we exchange. If we're in the same industry, we don't see each other as rivals. We see each other as like, oh, hey, how you doing this? And oh, okay, that's cool. So that works for you. Like we exchange, strategies and stuff like that. So it's refreshing to be around people like that instead of someone who's always trying to consider you their enemy, And
Yeah,
so,
well, I think in radio, one of the problems is most DJs are puppets.
mm,
They don't pick the music. They don't write the script. They're just saying what's written down, and they don't talk about things. So they're puppets. So they don't realize that you're going to be out of a job very soon.
no,
Maybe 10 years is very soon for me, because you're not setting up anything unique to yourself. Like for example, I'm doing this film festival. It's going to be a fucking disaster, but I'm still doing it. And I made a movie and doing these things that I can talk about. But
exactly.
if all you talk about is just what the guy writes down on the paper and it's just not interesting. You have to be into cycling or camping or doing something and being an expert in that field so that you can host a show. In fact, on Love FM and Kyushu, the show that's on before my show on Wednesday nights, it comes on at 11. What's the name of that girl? I'm talking to my wife here.
Something Kozo.
There's a girl named Kozo. She's not a professional talker at all, but she was born and raised on a farm.
Okay.
So she knows everything about plants and animals and all sorts of stuff.
But she's a professional cartoonist.
Oh, and she's a professional cartoonist.
Living there.
That's cool. Yeah.
So, and when I first listened to her, I thought, this girl's talking is terrible. But then you listen to her and it's like, oh, that's really interesting take on things.
Right. Yeah. So they may not be the best speaker, but if they have a story to tell or something interesting to talk about, then people will listen,
Yeah. So I think most of the foreigners, like even on TV talent, the reason why they're gone, and generally speaking, gone in 2 or 3 years, is because they don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not sure.
They have a quick catchphrase that they say, and then flash in the pan sort of thing.
Yeah. I have something to say, but I don't know how to say it well enough in Japanese. So, yeah. Anyhow.
So you said your show is broadcast in 16 countries, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't have to name all of them off the top, but
no, I can.
Japan, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have to go around the globe. So
yeah.
On UK, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Russia, South Africa, Hong Kong, Singapore, Canada, the United States, Mexico, and Colombia.
Wow.
And Japan.
And Japan.
Yeah.
And so are they broadcast on like local affiliates within these countries, or?
No, some of them are FM stations that also broadcast on internet.
Okay.
And some of them are just internet stations.
I see.
So my idea now is to get on as many stations as possible. And the reason why I do this, and I forgot his name, the president of Sirius XM Radio, he said that podcasting and YouTubing and internet radio is the future of radio. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It costs you millions of yen to run an FM radio station. Millions of yen, even not broadcasting anything. But you can run an internet radio station for $50 a month.
Yeah.
And you can be heard all over the world. So anyway, so my idea is to get on as many stations as possible. And then I can go see, like, for example, I could go see Delta Airlines and tell them, you can run an ad on my show for 1/100th the price of what Dentsu would charge you.
Right.
So that's the plan. I don't know if this is going to work out, but that's the plan.
You got to try it, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been doing I've been doing it for about 7 months now,
Okay.
and I pick up usually 1 or 2 stations a week. And I didn't pick up any this week. Oh wait, it's only Tuesday, isn't it? So
So the week's still young. Yeah.
the week's still young. Keep it going. But some of these stations are huge. Like there's a station in was it Finland, Helsinki, Finland, and it's an FM station and online. And on, like, for example, on Facebook, I think J-Wave has like 30,000 likes.
Right.
InterFM has like 20,000 likes. This station has like 48,000 likes. So a lot of stations have 20,000 likes, 10,000 likes. Some stations only have like 3,000 likes.
Yeah.
But the coolest station, it only has like 3,000 likes.
Right.
I mean, what I think is the coolest station. It's very, very, very cool. I'll send you that link too. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Please do. Please do.
You can just turn it on and leave it on. This is so cool. It's in Spain. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah. I'll send you that too.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, so radio. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think you'll really like it. I listened to it and I think, like, I know some of the songs, but most of the songs I've never heard of.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's good. I don't like it when the local InterFM station says, okay, let's go back for an oldie that you haven't heard in a long time. Here's Van Halen, Hot for Teacher. It's just like, oh, come on, you guys.
It's like everyone, yeah, that's an oldie, but you know, it's like everyone knows that. So, you know, play something that's a little bit more obscure.
Yes, another track from the album. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, it's weird. Like, I mean, I grew up around music. I mean, my family aren't musicians. I have a guitar, but I hardly play it just because I haven't spent the time learning it, honestly. But I grew up listening to music all the time. My parents played music all the time in the house, so I heard stuff from everywhere, right? And some of my favorite songs by famous bands are like some of the, not even B-sides, but just some of the tracks that weren't even singles or, you know, popular hits, you know, just because they would play whole albums and I would find the songs that I liked the best, you know. And
so you like David Bowie? Did you like David Bowie?
To be honest, I never really listened to a lot of Bowie, but he's one that I'm not going to sleep on. Obviously, I've heard you know the main songs, you know, but I never really got too far into it, to be honest.
All the hit songs are not the best songs.
Right, that's what I hear.
That's by far.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend. She lives in Spain now, but she was like obsessed with David Bowie. So I just need to pick her brain, and she'll tell me everything I need to know about David Bowie. You know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, that's just it. There's just so much music out there. Even you know, growing up, that I just I heard, but you know, I never got into, or I heard and I said, oh, I'll just come back to that later or something. You know, I was always into something, and it's not that I dismiss anything. I just it's like there's only so much time in the day, and almost, you know, so I float between moods and genres all the time. So someone introduces something to me, I'll get hooked on it, and that'll be the next 2 months of my life, you know, listening. So
that's cool. Oh,
yeah.
There's one more thing I'm doing. I guess I should promote.
Sure.
I still got time. Do you know, of course, you know History Channel, right?
Yes.
So several months ago, when my radio show got canceled, I was all depressed. Spent probably a month getting drunk every day. And then kind of thought, like, well, you can't keep doing this. So I came up with an idea for a TV show, and I went to see History Channel, and I went to talk to the president, and we went out and had a few drinks, and I sold him on this idea. And it's a TV show about Japanese underground punk and rock and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we've already shot the first first show. It's being edited now, and it's called Go Bang Japan.
Go Bang Japan. Okay.
And I hope it'll be out. Was it February? Maybe April.
So this is going to air on History Channel USA.
All over the world.
Worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think History Channel runs things weird. It'll first start off in Japan, and then whichever local, History Channel, like I don't know, Spain or Europe, or we'll pick it up.
Right.
They seemed to, they told me that this was going to be an easy sale in Japan.
Yeah.
Singapore, because it's actually, and things have to be packaged right. Everything we do is packaged right. It's actually a travel show.
Okay. Those are quite popular these days.
Yeah,
too.
so it's a travel show with a twist. So it's like, it's the first one is about Shibuya and Shimokitazawa.
Okay.
And the Let's Go's are in it, and Guitar Wolf's in it, and what's it called? Teen Generate. Do you know Teen Generate?
I haven't heard of them, no.
Anyways, they're a really popular punk band.
Okay.
And they were one of the few Japanese bands that were ever on the cover of a Maximum Rock and Roll magazine. Do you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Teen Generate, right?
Yeah, Teen Generate.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was a documentary movie made about them, but they were only together for like, I don't know, a year or 2 years. And that guy's in it, and it's really cool. So yeah.
Great. So that's coming out in April, you said?
Yeah, probably April.
Should be around April. Great. Yeah. Like Go Bang Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good title or not, but
there's so many interpretations you could have on it. That's a good sell right there. That's a good title, because people just type in. They could be typing in something completely different and still find your show. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. They could either be pleasantly surprised or disappointed, depending on what they find. So
well, the show, I saw the first cut of the show, and the show reminded me of late 70s news reports about like London punk scene. That's what it reminded me.
Oh, okay.
That was good. Okay. Very good. People choking each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, great. So, Mike, getting close to time here. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? Any words of wisdom or any sort of advice, or just anything you'd want to get out there?
Well, if you like Japanese rock, and if you want to study Japanese in not a traditional way, I guess, then listen to the Mike Rogers Show. It's on all over the place, and I just think that whatever you do, Andy Warhol said it. This goes for you too. Do something once, or do it every day. And in the case of every day, maybe it's every week, your show or something like that. But you got to do it. You got to just keep doing it. It's got to become like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Every night you brush your teeth right before you go to bed.
Yeah. Consistent.
Well, it's got to be consistent, and then you'll just get better and better and better and better, and you'll build an audience.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing to do.
I agree. Yeah. Well, Mike, I appreciate it. I'd love to talk to you again sometime on here, because I'm sure you have so many stories you can tell us, and I just appreciate you taking the time to be on here, man. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I greatly thank you for promoting my show. I'll send you like my banner, my email and stuff. And
yeah.
On March 13th or April 11th, let's go to one of those shows.
Sounds cool. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll have a lot of fun. Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, let's hang up. But don't hang up on me. Hang up.
All right. Okay.